everybody, Perry Nemiroff here, and I am very excited to introduce you all to Vinny Mancuso, who I don't think many of you out there in YouTube land have met, but yeah, Vinny writes for Collider.com. He does a lot of TV coverage, and that's why we're sitting in this room right now.
I'm here because I'm like Collider's resident expert on like terrible DC comic shows.
Oh.
Which is what we're here to discuss today.
I don't know how you wound up with that title, but
I
it's
got up
one
with
I
that
don't
title
envy.
by being the only person alive to have seen every episode of Gotham.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm the last supporter of
No,
Gotham.
it's actually you and my Nana.
Oh, okay.
I swear.
We should have brought her on.
I swear to God, my Nana really loves Gotham, and I watched it for a while because she really liked it, and then I'm just like, enough is enough. Sorry, Nana.
Not a Nana show.
But it is. It's that.
I guess
Once
it is.
Upon
I guess
a time
I'm,
for reasons
yeah,
I can't explain.
I guess I'm more Nana-like than I thought.
That it's not a bad thing.
No, I embrace it.
So today we're talking about the new DC streaming service show. It's their first one out the gates. It's Titans. I don't know. Do you want to take a stab at giving a little description of what this is?
Yeah. So it's based off, the Teen Titans. They were introduced in the comics, and there's the cartoon. This is a bit of a departure from the cartoon, but it ostensibly stars Dick Grayson, former Robin, now Nightwing, Starfire, Raven, and Beast Boy, who is barely in the show, but Beast Boy is in the show. And they sort of come together and become the Teen Titans. But before that, in the world of DC Universe's Titans, they killed just so many people.
So you're familiar with what this is based on?
Yes.
Or is it just from research?
No, I'm a big fan of the cartoon. There's Teen Titans Go, and there's the Teen Titans cartoon. There's Young Justice. But this is not that.
Okay. I'm glad to have the two perspectives, because I'm coming at it knowing absolutely nothing based on, what I've seen on the big screen, what I've seen from a little bit of Gotham, what I've done from research over the year, just covering many DC properties, and wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
so
jumping into this show.
I don't really know what I would... That's the funny thing. I don't know what I would think of these characters if I didn't know anything about them.
I don't like them.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. None of them are very nice people. None of them are ones that I would like to root for. I think the only one that came anywhere close to kind of engaging me, especially in the first episode, is that the one Starfire?
Starfire is the one
that burst into flames.
She bursts into flames.
We see her in what was it, Austria?
Yeah, well, she's
Germany?
In Austria. She gets to Detroit incredibly quickly. I don't know how long it takes to get from Detroit to Austria, but yeah, she's the one. She in this show, Starfire, she wakes up in a car, does not have any memory of who she is. She's dressed like she's in HBO's The Deuce. She's wearing a fur coat with a sequin dress. And that's how Starfire's story starts.
I mean, it's really strange. I don't know what that means as it pertains to the source material, but as presented in this show, that was the only thing that popped up, and I'm like, interesting mystery. I'm curious, like, what's up with her? But then they kept dragging it on and on where she didn't know who she was, and it was losing me a little. But I also think it's a situation where everything else just pales in comparison so much that I kind of latched on to the first, shiny thing that caught my eye.
The first interesting thing
was.
to happen. What's the funny thing, at least in the first two episodes, which is what we're going to discuss, it seems like there's like 4 separate shows going on. There's one taking place in Austria where there's an amnesia patient, and then there's completely other things happening in Detroit, which is strange to me because I feel like the appeal of the Teen Titans is a team show. But it's very much not a team show, at least in the first 2 episodes.
Not really. I mean, really, one of the few appealing moments to me was when the group of 4 come together in episode 2. That's when I started to feel that vibe, and I got excited about, this really weird family vibe that they started to form there. But otherwise, they're pretty separate, and they're also really miserable characters. And I know, not everyone out there has to be super likable, super, have all these redeeming qualities that you want to root for. But in this case, it just gave me next to nothing to connect to at the very beginning. And, it almost saddens me a little bit, especially knowing how many of my friends and colleagues have grown up loving superheroes and, how they appear in the original source material, how some of us were introduced to them on the big screen. And these are all just such deplorable horrible renditions of them that it saddens me to think that some people out there might get their first taste of these individuals from this show.
Yeah.
Wow, that was way harsher than I thought it was going to come out.
But I agree with pretty much all of it. And the interesting thing to me is they are very miserable people, but in the same ways. It's not like they are indistinguishable from each other because they're all sad in like the exact same way. And they come together and they just sort of mope at each other. They're like, I'm sad. And the other one's, then Robin's like, I'm also sad. And they're just like sitting in a church or a diner just being sad. And
being sad and drinking coffee.
Yeah. And then that's fine, I guess, for, like a dark, dirty story. But this is a teenage team of superheroes that are just burdened with all these horrible things within like the first 5 minutes of the show.
They're not even all teenagers. How old is Alan Ritchson?
Alan Richardson is in this show. He pops up as Hawk, I believe.
Yeah.
And he's introduced tied up and he's being tortured and it's like,
oh my God, I just remembered one of the weirdest lines from that. A line that they repeat twice for that matter.
Okay.
I mean, do you know what I'm talking about? When he threatens to pull his pants down?
Yes. And that is one of the strangest things about this show is how there's just sort of, they try and make it light occasionally, but in like you're like, well, that's strange, Alan Richardson. That
wasn't the way to do it.
Was that an ad lib? Was that a line from Blue Mountain State that you just wanted to quote? It was just sort of a very awkward moment in an already awkward show.
I had a whole list of things that had come up that it was them trying to be funny, and then I would write not funny, but that list got so out of control with random things that popped up that I can't really even pinpoint one at this point.
It's the dialogue. At some point, you're just writing out the entire script for the show and saying, this isn't good.
A lot of it's really, really strange, on the nose, in melodramatic ways. It's like another one that I had pinpointed here was, remember in episode 1 where Rachel walks out of her house to get on the school bus, and the neighbor calls out, I don't care about your emotional issues, and then mumbles, weirdo.
I swear to God, I wrote that down and like bolded it because it was so weird. I don't care about your problems, weirdo.
Who actually says something
like
that?
A strange thing to say to a child.
Because it's not even just the main characters that are kind of mean and selfish and miserable. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much everybody around them.
I think this show is sort of the peak of the post Nolan, post Dark Knight aesthetic, where it took the idea of, superheroes can be dark now, to where the whole world is dark. Nothing is happy. There's no light. It's not ever sunny. It's always cloudy in this universe. I get that they live in Detroit, but still, it's never sunny. Everything takes place in sort of a gray filtered existence, and that's how their attitudes are too. They're just sort of filtered through this blah, everything is miserable.
I mean, really, that's the perfect way to describe Brenton Thwaites in this, is just plain old blah. He's got absolutely no life to him. And yeah, I understand the fact that he's been through some stuff. He's probably miserable, but hey, we're still watching a TV series here, and you got to have a little life. And, I've seen him in things, and I know it's almost like a running joke at this point. Like, Brenton Thwaites is that thing that everyone's going to try to make happen that is never going to happen. But I've seen his charisma and charm. Whether or not you like the most recent Pirates movie, I thought he popped a little bit in that, and I liked him in The Signal and a couple things in between. But here, it's just whatever direction he was given just sucks all the life out of him.
Well, I think a lot of it is it seems like he was cast on appearance alone, because he looks like a great Dick Grayson.
He does look good in that, like, especially when he suits up too. It's perfect.
Yeah, he looks great, but it's so funny when they ask him to come into the police department wearing a shirt and tie, and he's like a grizzled detective, and he's like, I'm from Gotham City, like my parents died, and it's just like, Brenton, that's not you, man. That's not you. And it's funny because it's sort of, they're asking him to be something that he's not, where if this show is just like, oh, you're Dick Grayson, you're charming, you're a little bit surly, but you have a little bit of a dry humor, maybe they could have pulled something off. But that is not what they asked him to do. They asked him to be like basically a Harvey Bullock type at the age of, I don't know, like 22. And it's a strange casting. I get where they were going for, but it does not land.
It doesn't at all, and it just doesn't help that I don't think a single element of the show really does. So it's just one thing that isn't working, dragging down another thing further and further, where just like nothing aligns. Because even when I think about think about the opening, which is obviously the death of his family, and really silly things that are very on the nose at the very beginning, like when flying cuts out of the. I mean, really.
Oh, they're no longer flying.
Come on. We've already established that I don't know the source material, but really, even as someone coming from this with that perspective, like, what happens to the flying Graysons. I don't need you to do that to tease the ominous thing that's about to happen.
At this point, they're explaining that a superhero's parents died. It's like, thank you. All of their parents are going to die.
And then immediately when you go from that scene to the next scene with Rachel and her mother.
Her mother.
I mean.
Who... We get nothing of.
No, I mean, really nothing. And also, it's a very flat conversation that kind of already teases all of the, lackluster performances to come.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's almost like the material itself is so... It drags the performances down, too. Like, I don't know what the relationship between Raven and her mom's supposed to be, because they're just sort of... yelling at each other.
Raven's a superhero name, right?
Raven's a superhero name.
Raven Rachel.
Raven.
Just in case anyone out there doesn't actually know. Raven
her
Rachel.
name is not Raven.
Yeah.
Her hair is raven colored, in case you weren't sure about who she is. But I didn't really get what that was supposed to be. Are they a loving family? Are they not? It doesn't matter, because everyone in Titans is screaming at each other or crying.
I mean, that's the other thing. This is a show that is filled with just stating something and not making you feel anything, and that further enhances the melodrama of everything. So it never really works. And you know what the thing? What did you compare it to before we started recording? Yeah, I feel like you compared this show to something very specific, and then another idea came to my mind, and it was, you ever see the really dark, R-rated spin on Power Rangers?
Yeah.
That's what this reminds me of, but why I like that short a lot, by the way, but why it's problematic here is this is a full TV series with a budget, whereas that's a group of people who came together and wanted to do something creative and really nailed it, whereas this is kind of trying to be like that and failing in every possible way.
It's kind of like Riverdale with none of the self-awareness. It's like if Riverdale actually took itself that seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't think I've ever seen a TV show try this hard to be cool. It's almost like, when something's cool and it's effortless, and when something's cool and it's trying to be cool. Like if Titans was like a person, you would not want to follow them on Twitter. It would be like an obnoxious thing. They would be posting lyrics and like their lives, and it would be depressing. It's just kind of like that. Titans is that friend who is just trying so hard to be cool and failing so miserably.
Yeah, speaking of the music choices here, it's like, I think they had a Nathaniel Ratliff and the Night Sweats. It's a song that I really love, and there's so much music that pops up here that's music that I love and should add extra energy to the show, but the points in time that they're used are so wrong and off that all I could think about, nice, I have a good song to listen to right now.
Yeah, it's nothing that actually enhances Suicide Squad, when that Eminem song just popped up randomly in a scene. It was just sort of like they watched Guardians of the Galaxy, and they were like, oh, that's what people like when a song they recognize pops up. I think my favorite example in Titans is there's a fight scene going on, and then there's a pop punk cover of Kids in America. I know exactly what
you're talking about,
and it's just sort of... It's so strange because nothing aesthetically about the show is light. And sometimes they'll just set a light song in the scene and be like, see, we're having fun. We're all having a good time.
Well,
and no one's having a good time.
Nothing is a good time. And another reason why I say that it saddens me that this could be, some newcomers out there, their first interaction with these characters is also how strikingly violent this show is. Yes. It really caught me off guard. And, I don't know if those intentions were ever expressed and I just didn't hear it. Maybe I was thinking about this in the DC CW kind of way, which does not show blood, but oh my God, this thing is so insanely violent, bloody, and malicious. And, you know, even coming from someone who really digs horror and horror done right and blood and gore done right, this thing takes it to an unnecessary level that I actually found extremely off-putting.
Yeah, I really enjoy the character of Dick Grayson, and I love all the ideas of Robins and all that, but I never wanted to see Robin just viciously beat a man for at least a minute in slow motion. And after a while, you're just like, I don't know who is supposed to be enjoying this. Is it a fan of the character? No, probably not. Is it a fan of over-the-top violence? Probably not, because it's not even very well done violence. It's just like, oh, that's Dick Grayson just dragging a man's face across glass.
A lot of the action here is very, very poorly shot. I mean, even actually that specific scene that you just bring up, it's a fight scene where it is just Dick Grayson versus a bunch of bad guys in an alley. Mm-hmm. There's very little to establish in terms of geography, yet there is so much editing and so much cutting that I completely could not figure out where I was the entire time. Bullets would fly in one direction, and you don't really know where they're going, why they're going there. It's just, how do you mess up such a simple fight scene? I don't quite get it.
It's funny because that scene I mentioned that had that weird pop punk cover of it takes place in a very similar alleyway. Yeah. Most fight scenes in this show, they're just like, well, put them in an alleyway, throw some smoke in it, and it'll be DC Comics. Yeah. But it's not. It's extremely, extremely off-putting. For
lack of better words, it also, you know, a lot of the show looks kind of cheap. I don't know what kind of budget they're working with, but, you know, there's something to be said with, you know, making the most of what you had and increasing production value. And it's a show that wants to be a big city type thing, but they keep secluding themselves to things that look like, you know, sets that were either extremely isolated or flat out built on a soundstage somewhere. And you see it and you feel it.
And it's the same with the sort of costuming too. Like episode 2 introduces.
Don't get me started on that Dove costume.
Yes,
holy shit!
It looks like a cosplay, but not even a good cosplay. Like the person who did it the night before went to Kohl's and bought a bunch of like feathers and was just like,
I can't.
Done.
Really, the first time I saw that, my jaw hit the floor in the worst possible way. I mean, not only does it look bad, and it looks like any old person out there just kind of slapped it together and put a big pair of goggles on her face, but it's like even when you take all of that out and you're just watching it, you know, in the scene, like what idiot superhero would bulk up with all that nonsense where it looks like it's impossible to move?
Feathers don't help you in a fight. I don't know if she knows this.
I don't care if those feathers are bulletproof. Then it just looks like it weighs 1,000,000 pounds. It makes absolutely no sense to me.
And it's funny because it doesn't even fit in the aesthetic of the show. It's like they made a dark, gritty drama where this woman jumps in just like a Big Bird suit, and it's just like it doesn't gel.
That's what it looks like. It looks like Big Bird feathers, just not yellow.
It's like if Big Bird decided to get really violent. That's Titans. That is Titans in a nutshell. If Big Bird decided to get very violent and there was no self-awareness or fun. And that's the thing. Talking about the show, the way of describing the show, it almost sounds like it's a good time.
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
It's a slog. It was hard to get through because everything is just so
I hope no one takes this conversation as an it's so bad it's good kind of watch because it's really not. It's extremely unappealing. But you bringing up the Big Bird thing, like another line that had me laughing out loud was like when he gives her the doves and he's like, you know, like they're together forever. Like, really?
Like, wow.
Her superhero name is Dove. Do you think you just like threw something new at her? Come on.
Exactly. She probably knows more about doves than you do, buddy. Yeah, exactly. So much of the dialogue is just in the face. Here's what we're trying to say. The themes are right out there. And that's the thing. If you were to watch Titans, which I don't exactly recommend doing, the purpose would be to just discuss the mess, just the mess of it all, because nothing gels.
Nothing works. I mean, it feels like so scattershot where there are a million different things happening. And, you know, even after having watched 2 episodes, I feel like I should have, you know, a general idea of where the overall story is heading, and I could not tell you.
I don't know. They're not even really heading, for most of the show, they're not even heading towards each other. It's not like you get a sense of this team is it gonna collide. It's just sort of things happening, and and then a fight scene would happen, and then you're just like, what am I watching? Why did I order DC Universe? This was a bad idea. I don't know. And it's funny, the thing that does work about the show, the thing I kind of liked is I liked the way they handled Beast Boy. And he's barely in the show. At least in the first 2 episodes. I assume he eventually shows up.
I've only watched 2 episodes, and
he shows up, he shows up a little bit. And
a teeny tiny bit. But that was another thing where I flagged him, like, ooh, I like that. I want more of that.
That was fun.
And then that's it.
I don't know why they would do that. They're all equally, in this team. But they were just like, no. I feel like he didn't fit in because he was too fun. The writers were like, no one's going to want that. They're gonna want another alleyway fight scene.
No, thank you. I mean, another thing with the fight scenes, too, is the sound effects are just so over the top. It's like anytime something visually isn't gratuitous enough, then they just like put you like a big squish or something, or make sure you hear that stab extra loud.
You do know the show is violent, right?
As I slam the table.
Exactly.
There's your collider sound effect right there.
Exactly.
And also I'm like busy here looking at all the lines of dialogue. It's that specific dove line was, fun fact, they pair for life.
Because not only is that a stupid thing to say in context, who says it like that?
I don't know.
It's like, and
another bad joke that that in my notes just caught my eye is, you remember when that Bach, whatever her name is, like, the other detective lady who I don't know what she's doing, when she goes to the morgue and the morgue guy says,
oh my God.
Like, be careful. And at first I'm like, well, that's a stupid thing I've heard before. And then they try to make it into a joke, and it's a joke that doesn't work at all.
And he says something like, oh, this is biblical or something like that. And she's like, what does that mean? He's like, what, was that not clear enough for you? And I was like, what are these two people talking about?
Such a weird conversation.
I will say this. What most people know about the show pre-air is the trailer that had Dick Grayson say, fuck Batman, which does work better in context.
It does.
Than it does in the trailer, and I feel like the delivery is a little better, and it's not as stupid as you think it is, but it's still just extremely stupid.
I liked the idea. I mean, that goes back to the thing of, making you feel something versus flat out stating something, and I did like the idea of this Dick Grayson having a past with Batman that will slowly, unravel, and we'll slowly start to, maybe not unravel, but peel back the layers, and we'll come to understand. But when you include a line like fuck Batman, and the other thing that came up was the cops in the office, what happened to his last partner? He asked about the Joker. Who knows? I mean, you don't really need stuff like that. Come on.
I actually thought that was kind of funny how they sort of present the idea that the rest of the world treats Gotham as a joke. They're like, it's these Detroit cops, and they're like, oh yeah, someone probably got killed by the Joker. We have real murders to solve. Like, they're like, oh, what did Joker blow up City Hall? We have like an actual murder to solve. That idea is kind of funny to me because everything in Gotham City is so serious that the idea that people are just like, what's going on in that city? Why doesn't somebody do something?
I don't think they necessarily have the appropriate tone for this show to maintain something like that, but it could have been something that worked.
This is me completely trying to find like a bright spot that I amongst the much darkness.
I don't think I have a bright spot, really. I have a feeling I will not be continuing on with the show.
You will not move past it. I just might, just out of a awful morbid sense of curiosity.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I have seen every episode of Gotham, and that show was awful when it started. But not in a different way. At least that show was fun. But we should
get you and Nana to review an episode of Gotham.
Honestly, bring her in. The season 5 starts in 2019. Me and your Nana will watch every episode. We will live stream it, and the Collider audience will go nuts for it. Has she watched Titans?
I'm not recommending Titans to her. I can't do it. I'm
not really recommending Titans to anyone.
Yeah.
But it's strange because this is the big debut for DC Universe.
I think that's the most disappointing thing to me. Is of all things, this is what you come out of the gate with. And I'm not just saying that because I think the show isn't a good show quality-wise. Also, just with the added violence. Like, who are you trying to get to come to your streaming service?
It's and I think it's because it is a streaming service. It's kind of like when Daredevil debuted on Netflix. It was different because we had never seen a Marvel show like that. So I think they were like, we're going to give them a DC show they've never seen, and then leaned too hard into it.
Yeah.
Way too hard. Had Robin just beating people with a stick. If you want to see Robin, little poor orphan Dick Grayson just wailing on people with a stick, then hey, Titans is your jam. But if that doesn't sound appealing, then that's pretty much the overall aesthetic of the show. Is just stick beatings. Is the genre of the show is stick beatings.
There are so many wonderfully wrong pull quotes that have come out of everything you've said this
Put
episode.
it on the poster. DC Comics put it on the poster.
They're probably not going to do that.
Probably not.
Any final thoughts you want to leave our viewers with before we wrap this up?
Probably just if you're looking for the Teen Titans that you know and love, this is not where you're going to want to go. Get DC Universe. I think they have old episodes of Teen Titans and Young Justice. Watch those. Revisit those. I actually think they're actually going to have a new season of Young Justice. That'll be fun. But just leave Teen Titans alone. Or leave Titans alone. It's not for you.
I mean, that's a bummer of a thing with this show, too, because, hey, you know, having never watched Teen Titans, maybe if I liked this, I would go back and I would watch it. And at this point, I have next to no desire to, but, you know, you've made a convincing case where maybe I should go check it out.
Teen Titans is fun. I don't think there are any stick beatings in Teen Titans. Or if they are, it's not as gratuitous.
Well, that already gives that a point for me, because I've had enough of it after 2 episodes of this show.
My fill of stick beatings.
If you want even more Titans coverage, you'll be able to read Vinny's full review on Collider.com. Do you continue covering it after the first review?
I hope
probably not.
For everything that I do not. I just moved to LA. I will move back to New York if I have to cover the rest of Titans.
Well, we're not going to lose you that quickly. So, you'll get that written review on Collider.com and then probably know more. I hope you at least enjoyed this conversation. Clearly, we do not recommend the show. But you know what? If you do take the plunge and give it a shot, why don't you tell us what you think about it in the description section of this video, not of this podcast, if you are listening to it there. If you're listening to it there, hopefully you go over to Collider.com, check out his article, and put some comments there as well. So that's it. Vinny, thank you for doing this with me.
This was a lot more fun than actually watching Titans.
I'm glad we could salvage some entertainment enjoyment out of it.
Some bit of joy from Titans.
That's all we've got for you guys on this one. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and share, and also subscribe all over the place. Go check out the Collider Factory feed, the Movie Talk feed on the podcast network. We also have Collider.com, Collider Quick, the Collider Podcast YouTube channel, and the Collider main YouTube channel. So go check all that out. That's a lot of subscribing to do.
That was impressive.
But you know what? We love our network, so give it a lot of love yourself. We'll see you soon.